Welcome back to our tutorial about making spheres inside spheres. Today we're gonna render it. We're gonna do the rendering in Octane because why not? To be honest, I'm not a very experienced Octane user, so I'm gonna make some terrible mistakes for all of you Octane old-timers, so bear with me. But I like the glass. I like how the glass looks in the Octane and the refractions. So I'm gonna use Octane. So first of all, we're gonna move all these things into the object context. We're not gonna render the source node. We're gonna color it green and leave it be. I'm gonna create bubble base. Bubbles. Big. Bubbles. Small. We're not gonna move them around or select them in the viewport, so I'm gonna uncheck the green one. I hate it. And color the nodes red. Now we're gonna merge our geometry into these nodes with the object merge. Sphere base. This is our base sphere. Nice. Object merge. This is gonna be our sphere is big, and this are going to be our sphere small. And that's it. Everything is merged. I'm gonna create a camera, create a null, set the Z translation to 6, and select our camera. Okay. I don't think we need the 16:9 aspect. I'm gonna use the square one. And we're gonna change the focal length from 50 to 100. With this out of the way, we're gonna create our Octane render in the out rope. We're gonna create the Octane render target in the matte context. Octane render target. This is the node where all of our render settings are going to be stored. And Octane material. I'm going to need 3. Background. Bubble. Main. Or base. And small bubbles. Let's create a background. It's gonna be our usual box, big box, reverse the normals, blast. Blast these two things, and honestly I'm gonna leave these two walls and level the thing 6 round maybe 8. Anyway, that's not gonna be noticeable, nobody cares. And set an output node. Okay. With this out of the way, I'm also gonna move the thing a bit closer. Like so. So let's apply the shaders. Background to background. Base bubble. To bubble base, and these two small and big bubbles should have the small bubble shader. So everything is white in the viewport and it's making me blind, so I'm gonna decrease the values. For the OpenGL preview, it's not gonna affect the render, just for the sake of not going blind. Okay, that's it. In the render target, we have to change the kernel to the path tracing, change the environment to texture, change the imager or CIO, ACE tone mapping, and honestly, everything else is gonna work as is. Go to the output and create Octane Light. This is gonna be our light, big, color it yellow, and turn it from quad to circle. Make it bigger, 15, 15, 15. 15 meters, nice. So uncheck the keep instance power and let's see the result. Okay, looks terrible, barely working. The first thing we need to do is to uncheck the camera visibility and general visibility in the light source in the Octane Light tab. Layer settings, shader, layer settings, yada yada yada. Move a light a bit from the surface, farther away from the surface. Set the transition to 5, white to 6, and this is something. We need to probably make the rendering smaller because this is too much for my tiny screen. Now I'm gonna change the background shader a little bit. I'm gonna reduce the specular weight. As for the bubble base, we're gonna change the standard surface to the specular one. Specular, material specular. There it is. And by default, it looks okay. The problem now is that we don't have the tiny particles because they're not rendered as particles. They're not rendered at all. So the next step is to fix that. And the most straightforward way to do this is to just copy the spheres on top of it using the copy to points. No. Change the scale to 2, polygon, mesh to polygon, and let's see how it looks. Now they are here in the scene, but there are two problems. They're not shaded and they're probably not going to be shaded nicely. Specular. So yeah, they don't really look like the bubbles inside the bubbles. In Redshift you just usually reverse the normals and be done with it. In Octane it's a bit more complicated, but reversing normals works as well, so we're gonna stick with it for now. Reload. So now the reflections are better. They look like the proper bubbles, or at least I think so. Also, you can check the fake shadows because we don't have any shadows, and with fake shadows the rendering should be a bit faster. Now we can add some color to the big bubble. In the transmission tab, set it to pink and set the value of saturation to 0.5. Of course, this is not enough because we have to add dispersion, the best friend of the motion designer. Fashionable dispersion. Nice. Too much. Just a little bit. A little bit of dispersion. And that's it.